Hello everyone. So starting right off the bat, talking about the Israeli conflict out here, we're going to start with Gaza and what's going on because as we can see, Israel has completely closed in on the Shati refugee camp out here. And from what I understand, from what we've been told here, is that it was home to more than 1,000 militants, having been liquidated out here, as we can see, and 80% of the buildings being reported as rigged with explosives. So just in terms of how dense this area is, it's surprising to see that seemingly Israeli forces have taken all of it in a day. Uh, Considering the past couple days, they've only been kind of creeping around it and staying out from mostly the densest areas of it. So it's interesting to see, and also of note, the hostilities going on around the Shifa hospital out here, which of course is a tragedy. Just considering all the people who are within it, and the fact that it says here, yeah, lack of necessities of life, such as water and food, and apparently Hamas refusing to accept aid from Israel into this hospital, which again is a great travesty and a tragedy that's going on out here. But like I've said in the past few videos, it's just the nature of war. Civilians are always the number one casualty of war. So of course, when there's a war like this going on, people are going to suffer. And other than that, what's also of note are just the assaults and the clashes that are going on pretty much all around Gaza that have been reported. So that's something of note as well. Airstrikes as well as other missile strikes that are going on. A little bit of unrest and clashes being reported in West Bank, but also of note are just like yesterday are that Hezbollah and the hostilities going on between Israel and uh, Lebanese Hezbollah are seemingly in the uptick as of recently. So as to why that is, I can only assume just because of the Gaza conflict, but um, just in general, as to how this is going to be perceived. I don't see it really going on more than this. Maybe. But in terms of just, airstrikes and, ATGM attacks by Hezbollah and, shelling going on between either of them, I don't see it spreading out more than this. But, I didn't think it would accumulate more than what we were seeing before, but obviously I was wrong. So, this conflict is incredibly volatile as to what will be happening in the next few days. So let's take a look at what they're saying out there. All right, so here's a story coming out of Israel Gaza out here, and I want you guys to kind of come up with your own, idea of it, of what this truly means. Of course, I'm going to put my own input, but I want you to be the judge of what this truly means. Anyways, so Israeli lawmakers urge world leaders to accept Gaza refugees. And so, as we can see, the proposal has received support from Israeli politicians such as Itamar Ben-Gvir, and as we know, if you've been following this conflict or even just Israeli politics relatively loosely, you would know that this guy has been pretty provocative, especially of his visit of the Temple Mount, I believe, as of lately, and that really upset a lot of individuals, even I believe being condemned by the EU and the United States because of how provocative it was, because it's a religious site, and Israel, of course, is the center of religious conflict, especially right now. So just in general, just talking about, you know, Israel asking other countries to receive refugees because of this war, I, I'm not gonna lie, I find it really strange. Mostly because if you look at it right, sure, Hamas were the ones who really kicked off this, who were the big spark of this conflict heating up. Because, I mean, if you look at it, this conflict has been raging on for decades. And, this is only just another flare up, albeit a very, very big one. Um, so, just in terms of this conflict and how it's going, like I said, I find it strange that Israel is asking for other countries to accept refugees of a conflict that they are actively a part of, you know? So you can't lie when you say that Israel is not a part of the displacement of these individuals, right? So it's weird when a country is actively displacing people and then asking other people, other countries to deal with it. You know, um, I'm not saying that we should leave all of these people who are displaced, out in the dark, right? We can't just leave them out in the cold with no food or shelter. But what I'm saying is that it's really, really strange that Israel is asking other countries to do this. And what does this really mean? Especially if a politician like Mr. Ben Gvir here is supporting it. Um, when I see a country is actively asking people to displaced people that they have been a pretty decent part of doing, um, to resettle them, it sounds like ethnic cleansing. To just put it bluntly, it sounds like ethnic cleansing that these individuals are trying to remove Gazans from their homes and not let them come back. So, I mean, that's just how I see it. I mean, from just from taking a glance at this is just how I see what's going on here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just reading this the wrong way. Maybe I'm interpreting this wrong. If I am, then let me know. But it just in terms of how I'm seeing this is what it looks like. So let's take a quick glance here at some of the footage. I'm only going to show a couple stills out of here, but this is from the Shati refugee camp. As I talked about before, we hadn't really seen too much footage coming out of here, but as we can see, it's pretty densely packed, as I've been talking about before. So it's interesting to see that now they are starting to release some of the footage, considering that it's pretty relevant as of right now, since this is where they recently moved into. And so also something else I wanted to show really quick here is this clip right here. So this is just a tank rolling, and I'm not entirely sure, but from what it looks like out here, either this being a tank or some other, it appears to be a tank considering looking at the barrel and the anti-drone cage that's going up here, but this looks this looks either stuck or abandoned. So this is a clip. I mean, I can show it here, just really fast. You know how quick this clip is shown, since this is it's literally only a couple seconds, and this is, as we can see, official Israeli content. So the fact that they are showing um, abandoned vehicles, or what appear to be abandoned vehicles, in their own clip. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this isn't, but just showing for a quick second of their losses is pretty interesting to see. So take that as you will, but it's the fact that they're showing their own losses when they haven't done so at all. In terms of like the rest of this clip, it's just blown up buildings and other tanks rolling, and Israeli soldiers doing their thing. But it's just interesting to see here that even though it's a couple seconds, they're seemingly showing not the brightest side of this war. Now, looking at Ukraine, all there has been reported are just a few frontline clarifications. So the only places that I saw that were clarified were, of course, around Avdiivka. As we can see, the front line extending in both places. So Russian forces seemingly trying to clamp down on Avdiivka and try and fully take it. The other place, of course, is the Bakhmut area, of which let's just zoom in really quick. And as we can see right here, just it's pretty small, just North Bakhmut, the front line being, somewhat clarified Russian lines, and seemingly the uh, combat engagement area is extending a bit. And one last part over here in Kharkiv. Up here, I believe, it's hard to find it. Yeah, up here. It's hard to find, of course, when, it doesn't necessarily say where exactly it's being updated. But as we can see here, Russian forces either, advancing or whatever the clarification may be, but seemingly moving further across in this Kharkiv area. All right, now taking a look at the combat that's being reported out here. Of course, a decent amount of shelling, not seemingly as much as we've seen the past few days, but what's most of note are 57 combat engagements, which is a pretty high amount, although it's relatively in line of what we've been seeing the past couple days. So just in general, talking about this, as of the map updates that we just saw, it's not surprising that we're seeing some frontline changes, albeit minor, and them being um, branded as clarifications, even though I kind of theorize that they're not necessarily always clarifications. They are what are probably just small assaults, or just assaults that go on for days or weeks or months, and then that's what they finally amount to. But just in general, I'm expecting we're probably going to see a decent amount more changes and probably more Russian losses, considering we aren't seeing a whole lot of gains by them, and yet a lot of combat gains being reported. So just talking about that in general, we're probably going to see again more Russian losses, but also probably more Russian gains. So here's something that you've probably already heard at this point, but just in case you haven't, I want to talk about it really quick. Of Russian state media releasing and then later retracting reports of regrouping of Russian forces on the east bank of the Dnieper River, and of course the Kherson Oblast. So just in general, what they're saying here is that there are three likelihoods of what this may be. Either it's true that it's this is actually something that Russian state media had reported that is actually happening but shouldn't, and so of course they retracted it. Two, it's disinformation by the Russian military, or three, it was reported by an outside source posing as the MOD. So the first one, it's true. Second, it's not true, and third one might be true. So just looking at it just in general and as a whole, and what I think, I'm not completely 100% sold on it, but I don't find it completely unbelievable. The fact that not this would happen, but that this is something that is happening, that Russian forces are being told to regroup away from the Dnieper River. So just talking about it in general, I wasn't expecting too much to come out of the Ukrainian landings, considering there are only what, like 300 troops out there. Although could it expand to something more? It's quite possible. As of right now, I don't really see it happening. Of course, I could be wrong, and I have been wrong in the past, and I will be wrong in the future. So just in general, just take this with a grain of salt, of course, and keep an eye on it in terms of what's going on. But just in general, it's just something else I wanted to talk about. So here's a clip of some Russian troops out here, and I just want to talk about it in terms of nothing really happens. All this entire like 7-minute clip are just these, I believe, only three Russian soldiers and a journalist. At least that's it's a handful or less of them in here, and they go from basement to basement trying to evade what they're saying is tank fire. That seems pretty accurate in terms of you see it hitting these basement walls, and as we can see, the air darkens for a bit because of the dust and the debris that falls. So just in general, I wanted to talk about it because how either if it is a tank or maybe just other artillery. I do believe that it is a tank from from what it sounds like, but just talking about how artillery is so important in this war. We talk about Western equipment, and albeit it is a tank, so Western equipment like tanks and other vehicles being supplied to Ukraine is obviously important to them. But as we can see, they tank. You can hear around what, like 20 shells being fired at them, or at least they're talking about around 20 shells uh, 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 being thrown at them. So when Ukraine talks about the number one thing they need most is shells, it's believable, because just seeing in this clip how pinned down these Russians are and how they're literally bouncing from basement to basement trying to evade this tank fire, it's obvious that, yeah, what is most important in this war are tank shells and just shells in general. So just taking a quick look here at a clip coming out of Myanmar. So these are captured soldiers of the Myanmar military force saluting the Karen flag out here, which, as we know, the Karen people are a minority people in Myanmar who initially were, I believe, fighting for independence, but now are fighting, just in general, sort of against these junta forces out here, which I believe is one of, if not the longest running conflict in the entire world. So, just I am learning quite a lot, just, studying this conflict as it's developing. There was another clip I wanted to show, but it wasn't letting me record it, of course, junta forces, the Myanmar military fleeing en masse towards India, apparently. And the context of that clip was, of course, they were retreating, uh, which strangely enough to another country, of which they were later brought back to Myanmar or airlifted back there. So just in general, this conflict is really, really interesting as it develops, and yeah, I expect there are going to be changes sometime soon. Like the more anti-junta forces succeed out here, the more we're going to hear about it, and the more, of course, just more changes we're going to see. All right, well, that's all I really want to talk about here for today. So if there's anything else you want to let me know about, or anything else that I should take a closer look at, let me know. And other than that, thanks for watching.